Hey, it's Kim Komando today, your daily podcast to keep you up to date with all things digital and beyond. And I'd love to have you be a part of our podcast. You can make an appointment to speak with me. Just head over to Komando.com, and on the top right, there's a button that says Email Kim. Fill that out, and that's it. I always like to start with something interesting, and not everyone likes Siri, but you can change Siri to be whatever you'd like it to be. Like, for example, my Siri is a male with a British accent because it just makes me feel like, oh, I have my own butler. I've arrived. Okay, but I would like other options. Like, how about the Siri New Yorker? She'd say, like, what's the matter with you? Okay, or how about the existentialism Siri? What did you mean by that? Or how about the positive affirmation Siri? You are so amazing. What can I do for you today? But I'll tell you, Siri kept calling me Shirley this morning, and I was beginning to get so annoyed, but then I remembered I left my phone in airplane mode. Sometimes I crack myself up. And on that happy note, welcome to Kim Komando Today. It's a show that airs on many radio stations on Friday nights, and you can also get it as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Search for Komando with a K, of course, and that's Komando. And our T-Mobile Unlimited listener line is now open at 1-888-825-5254 is the way to join us. And this show has been brought to you by StartMail. Say goodbye to big tech email providers for good. StartMail keeps your email safe and secure. No reading, scanning, or analyzing of your mail. No ads, no tracking, and no profiles. So dump the spy mail and get your StartMail account today over at startmail.com/Kim. That's startmail.com/Kim. All right, every single day I must go to 30 or 40 different websites, and I talk to my industry insider friends, and I read white papers always to make sure that you guys and gals are up to date on all things digital. And this is part of the show where I'd like to talk about current events, tech news, things that are happening. Like, for example, have you ever really tried to figure out your internet service bill? Have you ever done that? It's a nightmare. There are these one-time fees, termination fees, rental fees, overage fees, and then there are taxes and discounts and bundles. And you're like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to pay the bottom line and just move on with my life. Well, finally, with some pressure from Consumer Reports, the FCC set down some rules that require all internet service providers give us, would you believe, easy-to-read, nutrition-style labels wherever they promote their internet plans. And also, you're going to get one with your bill. It's going to spell out exactly what you're getting and what you're paying for. So for starters, you will know whether or not that monthly rate is going to increase after the special introductory period. Also, you're going to know if your connection numbers are really what you're getting. So if the upload speed, the download speed, if there's any type of latency. And now with broadband nutrition labels, you can also compare internet providers' offerings and claims. And most importantly, it's finally a way to make sure that our ISPs are held accountable. All right, number 2 on our list, cryptocurrency isn't quite dead yet. That's right, if you've been in the tech industry long enough, you've lost count of all the losers and the winners, the booms and the busts, right? Still, nothing compares to what we've been experiencing with cryptocurrency. So is crypto gone? Is it going to be done for good? I get this question asked a lot, especially like this time of year when I'm at parties. Let's look at the non-fungible token, the NFTs. I'd say they're dead. Bitcoin is now at around $16,000, give or take, from its all-time high about a year ago of, say, almost $70,000. Now, all levels of the industry are deeply infected by the collapse of this FTX exchange. And well, I'll tell you, this is just a nightmare. This is going to make a great Netflix series someday because they were stealing, they were using money from that people were giving them to go buy boats and houses and take vacations. And the scandal is bigger than Enron and Lehman Brothers combined. Customers who lost their money don't even qualify for a tax write-off because, guess what? They didn't sell the asset. It doesn't stop there. The lending platform BlockFi, they declared bankruptcy. And the Winklevoss's twins, Gemini Earn, can't get your money there. Tough times. So always remember this. What is the difference between investing in cryptocurrency and getting married? What is the difference? Well, if your marriage fails, you only lose half of your wealth. All right, number 3, Mercedes is charging $1,200 to make sure that your EV can go just a little bit faster. What did she just say? That's right. Just about any new car today is just a computer on wheels, right? And like a computer gets more powerful with operating system updates and apps and things like that, cars are definitely moving in that direction too. So case in point, Mercedes-Benz is charging its electric car owners $1,200 a year to drive fast. That's right. They call the $1,200 software upgrade acceleration increase. You're like, whoa, I like to drive fast. I need to get that. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but it only gets you from 0 to 60 1 second faster. And they're not the only ones playing the subscription game. BMW is charging $180 a year for heated seats. That's right. And if you buy a 2023 Corvette Stingray or Z06, you have to pay for OnStar, which includes remote start and vehicle diagnostics. It's $300. You know, we have a Corvette, brand new Corvette, and I was so ticked off that I had to buy that, $300 up front. So the bottom line, when buying a car, make sure that you always ask, does it have a front bumper? Does it have a bumper-to-bumper warranty? Does it have a satellite radio ability, CarPlay, Android? And does it come with monthly subscriptions? Does my car have any monthly subscriptions? All right, number 4 on our list is the most confusing shopping season ever. That's right, it's happening right now. An impending railroad strike could wreak havoc on Christmas, our economy, and all of our day-to-day lives. And add to that, you know, a lot of us just haven't figured out what to buy or how much we can even afford to spend. So all forecasts are showing a weak shopping season. So retailers have been out cutting prices early, fast, and hard. So bottom line here is that as you're shopping, make sure that you're doing a lot of comparison shopping. Then there's this from the Wall Street Journal. Last Christmas, customer service satisfaction at Amazon was at a record low, and this year it's even lower. Nearly a quarter of Amazon's customers are dissatisfied with their experience. Why? Wrong items, late deliveries, products not as described. So what you want to do is shop early and allow some extra time. And if you ever do have any issues with anything on Amazon, if you go into that little help chat box area, if you look really closely in really small letters, you're going to say, do you want us to call you? Yes. And so what you do is you click that, and then you can give them the order number, give them your cell phone number, and they'll call you. I've never waited longer than just a couple of minutes instead of going back and forth with a chat bot, which can be so annoying. And finally, this last coming in at number 5, Yellowstone is breaking all records. You know the streaming series Yellowstone. So good. Fabulous. Follows the Dutton family struggle to protect the largest ranch in Montana. Now, the audience was so big on the night that the 5th season premiered that the Paramount Plus streaming app crashed. The problem? Paramount Plus doesn't carry the show. It's on the Paramount Network. But there's more to this whole Yellowstone craze. Of course, it stars Kevin Costner, such a great actor. He's now the reluctant governor of Montana. And Beth, of course, is there doing her antics, and Rip, and you never want to be taken to the train station. I'm not going to tell you what that means, but if anybody ever says on this series or tells you in public, I'm going to take you to the train station, it's a bad thing. You're never coming back. You're never coming back. So on the night that the new season premiered, 12.1 million people watched. Now, of course, the New York Times doesn't like this series, and they called it the most red state show on television. Let me say that again. The most red state show on television. So 12.1 million people watched it, but how many people do you think every single day read the New York Times? Anybody? 350,000 people, but yet it's the most red state show on television, which reminds me of a really bad joke. Why did the chicken from the New York Times Digital Access Online Department cross the road? Why did that chicken cross the road? I can't tell you because you've reached your limit of free articles for the month. Another good one. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about Windows has this secret built-in recording tool you're going to love. Talking about how you can turn your smart speakers into an intercom system. We've got some really smart tech tips for road trips. And then later on, 5 signs that your phone is tapped and somebody may be listening to all your calls, your text messages, getting copies of your photos, your videos, and much more. And of course, we have your great phone calls, and you have me, Kim Komando.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Hey, I love to answer your questions. If you ever have one, just head over to our website. That's Komando.com. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's a link that says Email Kim. And that's where that magic happens. I read every single email that you guys and gals send me. Again, that's Komando.com with a K. And then you want to hit that button on the right-hand side that says Email Kim. And how about we start with Darcy? Hello there, Darcy.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a big fan of your show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. How can I help you?
My son is turning 6 in a few months, and I am considering getting him a cell phone. But I want to see what my options are because I do not want him to have access to the internet or mobile data, but I do like the idea of getting him a good camera and having a phone that can have music on it, which is why I was debating against a flip phone versus a smartphone.
Now, did you ever think that you would say that? I want to get my son a smartphone.
I don't want to think it now.
I know, because sometimes it's like, wow, did I just say that? What's going on? I will tell you that my son was 3 when he had his first phone. But I
feel better.
It was really at that point, it was just, it had 3 buttons on it. One called mom, one called dad, one called grandma, and that was it.
Those don't exist anymore.
I know, unfortunately they don't. When you start looking at phones for kids, what a lot of parents do is they'll give them the hand-me-downs. But as you know, and you're astute in knowing this, is that, if you give them a hand-me-down, you're handing them down the internet, right?
Yes.
Social media, games. And, I've always said that, that you're just a few clicks away from anything that you should never see on the internet. And that's something that you might want to start talking to your son about. I know that it's really early, but if he ever goes over a friend's house, a relative's house, he hops online, they may not have the controls. And that I used with my son the word uncomfortable. So if you ever see something that makes you uncomfortable, let me know. Because that kind of covers a whole bunch of things. It does, that word.
That's true.
And I found him, like when he was 8, believe it or not, some girl in his class was sexting pictures. Like, wow, really? I mean, Where's mommy? So in answer to your question, you can get him a phone, but I want you to make sure you get good parental controls on that. But if you're looking for a phone just for a child, it's called the Gabb, Gabb. It doesn't have any internet, doesn't have any games, no social media. It does have GPS locations, unlimited talk and text. I think it's about $25 a month. And what's nice is that there's no contract either. But it's a phone that you could give a 5-year-old where he could take pictures and you guys can communicate back and forth because even if you guys are just communicating in emojis, and because obviously at 5 he's not completing dissertations quite yet, although he may in just 6 months. Is that you can always send hearts and thumbs up and things back and forth. And again, you'll know exactly where he is. I'll post a link to this phone over in the Q&A forum. And so in case you want to check it out there, it's going to be right there, Darcy, as well as for anybody else who may be listening to the show and you have a similar question about, how do I give a relatively young child a phone and not worry about all the bad stuff that's on the internet too. Hey, kids and technology, don't forget about our free tech contract for kids. Head to komando.com/contract. And in case you're a school administrator, yes, you have permission to give it out to all the kids. Once again, that's our free tech contract for kids. Let's see. Andrew, you're up next.
So I have my whole house is a smart house. I've got I do Airbnb, so it syncs my Airbnb, so it sets the lock when I have a guest right when they're supposed to show up. It turns their code off when they leave. All my houses, lights, everything, and I have it done through Samsung SmartThings. The ADT security system was an all-in-one device. And then I got this great little email a couple months ago as of June 1st of this year, it's going to be a really expensive paperweight.
Isn't that the biggest pile of junk you've ever heard. I mean, that they're just going to turn it off. Boom. That's it. You're done.
Yep. I can't even use it for my local stuff. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I'll still be able to use this. I just won't be able to use the security system, but I'll still be able to use this in my smart house hub. But no, it's not going to be able to do anything. Fortunately, I was able to go Google Samsung refund portal, and I was able to get sign up for a refund. So I'll get my money back. I do have to send the device in, so I have to find a replacement for it for my smart house before I send it in to get my refund. But that's what I wanted to ask you about. What are some good smart house technologies that I'll be able to do my all my custom integration that I do, particularly for
the
Airbnb? I could do the next SmartThings model that they've outsourced to a different company, or is there a better technology that would serve me better?
Anytime that somebody outsources anything, it makes me really nervous. Because
yes, exactly.
I don't really know if they're going to have the commitment to it for the long term. And I understand what you're going through. I have some VRBOs, and I've been struggling with this myself over the years. Like, there was something that was really big called MyNexia. I wouldn't recommend that you go to it. It never really quite took off the way that the company had hoped. I've tried the Schlage locks. They work really good, but you need to have a bridge. And it's like, I don't know if I really want to have a bridge, because that's another thing that a guest is going to trip themselves up on, or a battery's going to die, right?
Right.
But with these mainstream products, I would encourage you to look at Google's Nest Hub, because Google's doing deals with the likes of ADT and the other companies. And you know that with Google, if you build it around the Google Nest Hub, is that there's going to be commitment to the product for the long run. And so with the Nest Hub, you can control your ADT, you can control your lights, your thermostats, your cameras, and you could have it all automated through Airbnb, or accordingly, if you wanted to just be able to turn on a camera or do a lock or whatever without Airbnb, if you want to switch to another service, is that you can do that as well. I found it myself really easy to use, easy to hook up. They've got it down, they being Google, that when you buy a product or you have a product, is you scan the QR code and it comes up and it goes, oh, look what I found. You're like, oh, thank you. That was so nice of you to find that. So there's not a lot of configuration along the way. The products tend to be a little bit more expensive than on another platform, but I wouldn't go with the new Samsung. Like I said, I would go with the Google Nest Hub if I were you in your position, because the commitment's going to be there for the support and the products, and the people want to be attached to the Google's Nest Hub. It used to be called the Home Hub or something like that, but of course, when they acquired Nest, they got everything along the way. And again, check that out. And if you need any help afterwards, just give me a call back. What a great call. Hey, just a quick tip is that if you do have a rental, make sure that you use a Google Voice number on your listing. So this way you can always get rid of that number and nobody gets your prime number in case it ever gets compromised. All right, so Windows has this amazing built-in screen recording tool, because you know how frustrating it is whenever you want to give somebody tech support. It's like over the phone, you're like, oh, go to start and get the control panel, whatever it is. Now, if you're on Windows, remember these magical keys. It's the Windows key plus Alt plus R. Okay, say it again with me. Windows key, Alt, and R. Windows key, Alt, and R. Okay, what you do is you hit that, all of a sudden everything on your screen gets recorded, including the audio, which can be then put into a Microsoft Word doc. And then to stop recording, it's what? Windows key, Alt, R. Windows key, Alt, R. Yeah, that's a great tip right there. And you want to stay right where you are, because we have more of your phone calls as well as some tech tips for those road trips here on Kim Komando Today. All right, coming up in just a few minutes, some tech tips for those road trips. Boy, there's a little tongue twister for you right there. And then later on, 5 signs that there's a keylogger. Your phone has been tapped. Somebody's seeing every single thing that you're doing on your phone, so you don't want to miss that. And before we go back to all of your fantastic phone calls, Remember when expensive homes, they were the only ones that had those intercoms in every room. As a matter of fact, I was over somebody's house and they still had those big boxes on the wall. I'm like, dude, you got to get rid of those because all you need are smart speakers. Now, Amazon smart speakers, they have a feature called drop-in that will turn your Echo devices into an intercom. So you could say, Alexa, drop in on the garage Echo Dot, or say you're in the bedroom and you want to make sure that your significant other is going to be making you that perfect lemon drop martini. Not that I ever do this, but you can say, honey, I'll be in the kitchen in about 5 minutes. Could you make me a favorite drink, my lemon drop martini? Now, there's also a cooler command. You can say, Alexa, drop in on all the devices, and then you can make a whole house-wide announcement. So let's say you'd say, like, dinner's ready or something like that. So there's a little tip that you might be using. Oh, this is really funny. This is actually a true story from my listener mail. Guy says that he thought somebody was breaking in his house. So he said, Alexa, call the police. And then Alexa started playing, Roxanne, you don't have to turn on the red light. Shuffling songs by the police. Okay. Robin, glad to have you with us. Hi there, Robin.
Oh, okay. Well, about 16 years ago, it became necessary for us to place two of our grandchildren for adoption. And we were too old, and our daughter was unable to raise these children. Our granddaughter just turned 18, and she would love to talk to her birth dad.
Okay.
Now, I have found him by name only, but I don't want to have to subscribe to People Finders or any of those things. So I was wondering if you had any hints or suggestions on what I could do.
Yeah, because, sometimes when you go down those People Finder rabbit holes, you're like, oh,
yes.
Yeah. And then they give you that fake, I hate that, the fake bar that goes along. We're looking. I'm like, oh, come on. Do I just look like I got off the turn-up truck? I mean, please. I mean, this is just not going to work.
No, I know.
Now, you sent me an email. Let me ask you a question. Don't give me the guy's name on the air, because you sent that to me in an email. How old? Is he 42 or 54?
42.
All right. I found him.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let me tell you how I found him. And you could find him.
I'd like to hear.
You could find him too.
Okay.
There's a website out there, and we've talked about it several times here on the show, about it's a place where you want to remove your personal information. Mm-hmm. And because there's so much personal information out there on all of us. I was astounded when I went to this site, and it had every address that I lived in, including my first apartment in college, that I couldn't even tell you today what street that was on. I mean,
oh my word!
But every single place I lived, my parents, my brothers, my sisters, and I'll tell you the site. It's familytreenow.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you type in this guy's first name, last name, and you told me where he was in the state of Utah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he popped up, and it looks like a brother, a little bit of. I feel like a psychic.
In there too.
Yeah, I feel like a psychic, and he has a younger brother. I'm seeing a younger brother. Okay. And sometimes phone numbers are given, but they always seem to have the most recent street address. And in this case, down to the apartment number. Okay.
Really?
So
should I be happy or scared to death?
That's a really good question, because what I want you to do too is to put your own name in there.
Okay.
And over at the website at Komando.com, we have the steps to remove your information from this. See, what happens, Robin, is that they being these sites, they fire up all these sites and they put all this information out there. So that this way they get a lot of publicity, as this is a free People Finder site. And they stay like that for maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. And then all of a sudden you go there because you're like, oh, I'm going to go look somebody up. And then it's like, no, sorry, time out. Now you need to give us your credit card. So It's a whole marketing strategy behind this. And so they put this out calling it familytreenow.com because it sounds like, oh, I can do my family tree there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not though.
No.
Okay.
So take a look at that site. That's why I asked how old he was, because there was another one at 54, not in that city, but in an adjacent city. So, but if this one's 42, if the father's 42, then I got him. He's right there.
Yeah.
So familytreenow.com. If you have trouble finding it for some reason, I mean, I have it. I'm happy to send it to you. And so this way you don't have to look it up. But, you know, it's one of these places on the internet that you sit there and you go, wow, they really have all this information out there just free for the taking. Hey, every single Tuesday at Komando.com, it is a big day you don't want to miss. Because why? That's called Opt Out Tuesday. That's right. Because there are so many of these people search sites. You know, as I mentioned, Family Tree Now, it's probably the worst of the bunch. But every Tuesday at Komando.com, we tell you how to opt out at one more privacy-reducing database that just puts all of your personal information out there to anyone free for the taking. And again, if you try to find all these instructions on how to opt out of these databases, it's a complete nightmare. So we do all the hard work for you. We do the heavy lifting. So every Tuesday, head over to Komando.com because on the homepage, it's called Opt Out Tuesday. And make sure that you also follow us on social media because every time we post anything that will protect you and your privacy, you're going to hear about it first over on our social media channels. So whether that's twitter.com/KimKomando, facebook.com/KimKomando, you know the drill. It just kind of goes on Instagram.com/KimKomando. Well, that's more of my personal stuff. So wherever you are on social media, make sure that you follow us. All right, so here's the deal. Quite often, you know what I'm talking about, it's far easier and time efficient for you to drive from point A to point B than rather than go to the airport 2 hours ahead of time, deal with all those people, you know what I'm talking about, TSA 2, and then get off the plane, get your bags, get a car, somebody pick you up, then just to drive, and you're there. And you know what? You can listen to our podcasts both ways, and you're going to learn things and laugh along the way. But so here are some 5 tech tips for those drives. First of all, how do you find cheaper fuel? Of course, everybody knows about the Gas Buddy app, but if you're using Waze, you can also find some cheap gas along the way too. Now, if you're running late, you can send an ETA. You could just say, hey, Siri, share my ETA with my friend, especially if you have the GPS navigated. And of course, you can do that with Google Maps too. Using voice commands, a lot of people, you think these are underrated, but you can always say, get directions to, where am I, how long until I get to where I want to be, where's the nearest gas station, whatever you may think about. You can also use Google Maps and Apple Maps to tell you about traffic, so you can plan to leave, right? And I've done that myself between driving from LA and different places, because LA is always a nightmare, is that you can say if I leave at 10 a.m. or 10:15 or even 11, how long is it going to take me? And if you are using the Waze app over at Komando.com, you can have me, that's right, me be your direction giver, because I recorded all the commands so that this way, if you're using Waze, you can have me right there along with you. And to learn more about all of that, just search for Waze over at our website. That's Komando.com, and Waze, of course, is spelled W-A-Z-E. Why? Because it is a tech company. That's right, and tech companies like to challenge us with their spelling. All right, still to come, we have more of your phone calls, as well as later on 5 signs that your phone may be tapped. You're on Kim Komando Today. All right, back to the phones we go with Raymond. Hello there, Raymond.
Hey, Kim, thank you so much for taking my call. It's such an honor to get to talk to the electronic artist. I run into your show by accident many years ago when I heard Kim was the electronic artist. I said, I need to get a hold of his programs every chance I get. Unfortunately, in this area, all I get is recorded programs, but it doesn't matter. It's still you.
Oh,
anyway, I just love your program. And like I say, all my electronics are people illiterate. So I really need Kim Komando.
Well, thank you, Ray.
Anyway, back in March, I switched from AT&T to Spectrum, and unfortunately, it's been a disaster for me. I don't know if it's me or Spectrum, but I'm thinking about switching to another provider. I know you advertise Start rather, but I want to get my own browser, modem and browsers. And I need advice which ones are the best to get. And I'd spend millions of dollars, if you know what I mean.
Well, so here's the deal, is that when you start looking at why your internet isn't as fast as you want it to be, which I assume is why you want to switch. You switched from AT&T to Spectrum. Now you're like, oh, my gosh, no, I'm not doing it. And especially how many devices that you have. There are some basic rules of thumb, right? Number one, in Dallas, you have AT&T Standard, but you have AT&T Fiber. And I don't know if you've looked at the AT&T Fiber, but that's a gigabit connection, and that's going to be super fast, faster than Spectrum. And so if you're having trouble with your connection, just some basic rules of thumb is that number one, you run a speed test. And you can go to speedtest.net, not .com, speedtest.net or fast.com. And then you start looking at, are you getting the speeds that you're buying? Okay. And you have to do a speed test like in the morning, in the afternoon. And if you can do it when you can tell everybody in the family, just give me 10 minutes where you're not online. And all the kids will go like, oh, Dad, do you have to take me offline for 10 whole minutes? Like it's like the end of the world, right? So, but you want to look at your upstream and your downstream. And so to look at those speeds to see what you're promised. Now, let's say you're not getting the speeds that you promised, which is probably what's happening, all right, right? Is that,
I think so.
That you now need to look at how old is your modem, how old is your router, and primarily we're going to see if you're looking at, do you rent the modem or did you buy it?
I rent them.
Okay.
That's what I want to buy them. I want to buy them from
exactly. You want to be able to buy it because in the long run, you're going to get better gear and you're actually going to save some money. And we always want better gear because we need that faster connection. And so you're going to want something called a DOCSIS 3. And I don't want you to worry about writing any of this down because I'm going to send you all, I'm going to tell you where you can read all about it and get the links that you need. So
Fantastic.
you have a great modem, and then you're going to check your router for any type of firmware updates. And then we're going to run those speed tests again, primarily on the modem, just to make sure that it works. Now, let's say you're not getting the speed that Spectrum promised you, or AT&T Fiber, or whoever it is. Well, that's when you call them up and you say, hey, dude, what's the problem? This is what my test ran, and maybe I need a faster connection, or maybe you need to tell me what I need to do to get the connection that I'm paying for. And worst case is that they say, you know what, this is the best we can do, and then that's when you have to look at something better. And I know it's a pain in the neck because you go from one provider to another, and then you get different email addresses, and that's why you also want to make sure that your email always stays with you with your own domain. So if you do decide to switch providers, if you do decide to go someplace else, that you're not sitting there trying to tell everybody that you got a new email address. So this advice, by the way, folks, goes for anywhere that you live in the entire country, anywhere that you live. And if you do ever switch providers, you want to be sure to tell them that you want to ask to speak to the retention department. And that's the secret department, the retention department, because it's their job to keep you as a customer. So over inside the Komando community, I'm going to post some links, Raymond, for you, so that this way you can get links to the modem that you need, how to do the speed tests. I'll walk you through some firmware updates and also how to get a better deal. You may be able to get a higher tier connection just by negotiating that as well without having to pay extra. And thank you for your kind words, and thank you for being a loyal listener of the show and hitting the site and all that other good stuff. Oh, here's something that the ISPs don't want you to know. It's called vacation hold. So if you're going to be away from your primary residence where you get your internet service, and you don't want to pay for it when you're not there, obviously, is that you can call them up and say, hey, can you put my house on vacation hold? And they will do that. And then you're just, instead of paying like $150 a month, you're not even there, you can only pay like $6 or $10 a month. And you still get all your email and all that other good stuff if it's tied to your internet connection account. Hey, just a quick reminder that if you are not getting our official newsletters, you're missing out. We have our tips, we have breaking news alerts, recall alerts, whether you're on Windows, Apple, Android, we have specific newsletters for you. They're absolutely free, and we're not going to sell, lease, distribute your email address to anybody ever. That's right. You have my personal guarantee, and I've assured you that for over 20 years. That's komando.com/subscribe, komando.com/subscribe. All right, let's start with your phone's battery. Is the phone draining faster than usual. Is your phone hot to the touch? Your phone could be tapped. Number 2 on our list, your data usage just skyrockets, but you're not using a bunch of apps or watching videos. A sign. 3, you start seeing strange things, pop-up ads. Or 4, your phone starts lagging. It's taking slower. And finally, number 5, websites look a little bit different on your phone. If that's the case, make sure you do a factory reset. You can find the instruction over at komando.com. That's Komando.com. Hey, thanks for listening to Kim Komando today. So reach over and give me a nice 5-star review. Yes, thank you. And thanks for listening.